Oh, there we are. All right, so I just, you know, our agenda is to go over, you know, why business ownership, some options for getting into business, risks and rewards of business ownership, some myths and realities, and how to identify the best business option for you, and building your personal business model. So I'm going to be talking kind of fast because I'm trying to get rid of my picture. I don't want to see myself. You know, I have a lot of slides to go through, but I do want to start with saying thank you so much for coming here. I realize that most of you are business owners already, so you are here because you are either a friend and a supporter, or because you're here to help and support your friends that may be in, you know, a downsized or laid off position and might be wanting to do something else with their life. So just a little bit about FranNet. You know, a lot of people don't know who FranNet is. We are a 30-year-old, actually, I think going close to 35-year-old international franchise consulting firm. And we are, our claim to fame is being local. You know, it'd be very difficult for me to help somebody in California because I don't know California, but I do know Northern Ohio very well. So we have over 100 locally based consultants across North America. We have we operate in Canada and in Europe. Also, we have national partnerships with SCORE and the SBDC, which those are two places that you can go and get help going into business for yourself, whether it's through me or, you know, just on your own. If you were struggling with your business or thinking about growing it and you didn't know directions, they're really, you know, free business coaches. The SBDC is paid employees that are really our government dollars help support the SBDC. And the SCORE is also supported, and it is volunteer people who have been in, you know, major industries across the United States. So what does FranNet do? We match people who want to be in business with a franchise that meets their needs. My line is rather than driving down the street and going, oh, Dairy Queen, or thinking to yourself, you know, I really, really love Chick-fil-A. I should own a Chick-fil-A because I love Chick-fil-A. Well, I don't know, maybe after a year, loving the food would not be the reason you want to own the business. And the wonderful thing about our business, our services, is they're always 100% free to you, the client. We don't charge anything. I am kind of like, you know, a realtor. I show you options, and if you decide to buy a franchise, I get a referral fee. And if you don't buy anything, then, you know, it doesn't matter. Then I have a win because I've helped you save your money and potentially learn a lot about what you might want to do. So we educate prospects on the opportunities in business ownership. We'll see in a few minutes, you know, you have 3 different options. And so we also offer you the choices. So in other words, if somebody came to me and said, I only want to buy X, you know, that would not be being a consultant. That would not be helpful to anybody, because you could pretty much call and get help, you know, just looking at X yourself. Really what I do is encourage you to look at several different options so that you can learn from each different model, and you can learn different questions to ask and see what might be a better fit for you. And plus, we have a conversation every week about what would you like to, you know, what more do you need to know to make a decision, or what don't you like that you've learned so far, and what do you like, so that you're looking at things that are going to, again, be a good fit. And what we do is for our franchisors, we you know, we pre-screen all of our applicants. So you know, before I send someone to a franchisor, I know whether or not they can afford that franchise, and I know that if they might have an interest in that. And that's really wonderful for the franchisors, because, you know, on the weekends, a lot of times people just sit at home and go, I hate my job. I think I'm going to check into this franchise or that franchise, and they have to, you know, smile and dial all those people. So when they're talking to our clients, they are sure that they're a good fit. Maybe not that they will buy the franchise, but they could be a good fit. And we make sure that you know, our franchisors are meeting our applicants' standards. In other words, you know, if you want to make $250,000 a year, then I want to make sure that I'm showing a franchise that you have that opportunity to make that kind of income. If you only want to invest $80,000, I'm showing you opportunities that fit that standard, rather than you having to call and say, you know, 10 different franchises, how much do you cost? So I do not sell franchises. I just really help people explore the opportunity. So why business ownership? You know, for everyone, it is different. Some people are looking to take control back in their life. You know, they're working 100 hours a week at their corporate America job. Some people are looking for that financial security. Sorry. Some people are, you know, tired of getting laid off. There's a lot of people that have been laid off 3-4 times. I'm sorry, I gotta take a sip here. 3 or 4 different times. I've worked with quite a few people that are now in their, you know, later 50s, and they've been downsized, and they're looking to give back to the community and to the greater good. So I think that, you know, flexibility, that was one of the reasons why I did what I did, went into this kind of business, because I wanted to be home to get my kids off to school in the morning, and I wanted the flexibility to be able to be home when they got home from school. And if I had any networking things in the evening, then my husband would be home to help them with their homework and those kinds of things. So success is different for everyone, and that's what, you know, that's why we want to find out what is a good fit for you. Yet, most people choose to work for someone else. So if we were interactive, a little more interactive, I would ask you why, but I will tell you why. You know, really risk, some of the current concerns are risk. You know, they think or feel that a job is safer than a business, or they're going to wait until the economy is better. A lot of people think that, you know, it costs a lot of money to start and run a business. A lot of people don't know where to start or find what they would like to do. And a lot of people think that it takes special skills and talents to run a business. But really, you know, as far as the risk perception goes, is working for someone safe? For the short term, yes. But anymore, you know, sadly, you know, it isn't true. I mean, we can just get right down to brass tacks. It's not safe anymore. You know, the longevity isn't there anymore. You know, it doesn't matter how hard you work anymore. And a lot of times you're not going to meet those long-term financial goals of security and retirement. We used to be able to work at a company. You know, my dad worked at the phone company, you know, 40 years, 30 years and out, you get your, you know, gold watch, and life is grand. You have your 401k and you can move on to something else. But it's not like that anymore. And a lot of times when you are downsized, some of you may know, you know, it can take 6 months to a year to find another position. And at that, it's not always doing what you were doing. So at first, owning your own business can be very scary, and you'd be crazy not to be afraid. I just want to tell you that up front. But no one can take your business away from you, and you can't be downsized, transferred, or fired. And you can grow the business at your own pace. And the longer you own the business, typically, the safer it becomes. So we've been playing by the rules, but as I said before, the rules have changed. Job security is definitely a thing of the past. Income security is in the future. And, you know, I work with a lot of people that are job seekers, and a lot of them, you know, still want to, you know, when you're in your 50s and you want to get into Sherwin-Williams or, you know, Swagelok or a lot of those bigger companies, you know, really they're looking for the younger people typically, because they have time to mold and shape those people. And it's really the smaller companies that is a better niche for people that have been in the work world, because the smaller company needs someone that can come in and work quickly and, you know, be caught up to snuff. The risk reduction, you know, concern about how the economy can impact your business. So you want to lower the risk by looking for businesses with specific market characteristics. This slide always sounds like a marketing slogan, but what I mean is many businesses thrive in all economic conditions. And during this time, this COVID time, there have been businesses that have skyrocketed. And all the time, I am only showing people businesses that are recession resistant and that are typically Amazon proof. And we can just start with growing markets driven by the demographics. You have the senior care realm, you know, the things that deal with people that are, you know, getting to be 65 plus. And it's not just about home health care. There are many, many other areas in that realm that are available. Also, residential repairs and home modifications is, you know, more people, especially after this whole COVID thing, people are not wanting to go and stay in the assisted living in the areas where they're locked down and they can't see their family and their family can't come and see them. So people are wanting to keep their parents home. And so sometimes that needs the home modifications and repairs, cleaning services, you know, just down to, you know, businesses, industrial cleaning, home cleaning, you know, the schools, everything. Cleaning has just been a business that has boomed, and it boomed at the last recession also, because when women were going back to work, they needed, you know, they were willing to trade a couple of dollars to be able to have their weekends free to go watch their kids play their sports and things like that. So cleaning services has always been a great business. Essential services, you know, so you have people, you know, in the automotive industry, you need to have your car. Our transportation system is not very good. I live in Brecksville. My son was going to go to Tri-C in Parma, and it was going to take him an hour and a half and 2 buses to do that for a 20-minute drive from my house. So, you know, people need to have their cars running and taken care of. Damage restoration, it doesn't matter if what the economy is like. People need to have, if they have fire or they have water damage, smoke damage, they need to have that taken care of, and typically it's covered by insurance. Sign companies, oh my goodness, it was already a great business before COVID. Now it doesn't matter what business you walk into, they have 6 or 7 more new signs. Sign companies are a great business. Commercial cleaning, we already discussed that. And then you have other small businesses that help small businesses, you know, so you have the business coaching, the digital marketing and advertising. Staffing is such a booming business because companies don't want to hire full-time anymore, or they want to do that, try it before they buy it. And then sales and employee training. So those are just a few of businesses that are in the franchise realm that are recession resistant, essential services, and Amazon proof. So, and I missed here, mosquitoes are also another great, you know, and it's a seasonal type business, but you can make in that season as much as you would make in a full year. And of course now tutoring is still a very big business. It was big before, but it's going back again, even more bigger because of all the school stuff that's going on. So business ownership options. You can start a business from scratch. You could buy an existing business, or you could buy a franchise. And so when you look at starting a business, you know, it's great. You know, you have total control. You get to make all the decisions. You have room for creativity. There's no predetermined rules. There's a large upside, and you're building a business from your passion. Some of the downsides or disadvantages are that, you know, you have to create all the systems. There are definitely very limited financial options. The banks are not going to give you any money. I can just promise you that. Usually it's the slower ramp up, but once it ramps up, it's very good. And sadly, it does have a higher failure rate. Buying an existing business, the advantages. You know, you have cash flow right from the good get-go. Goodwill is, you know, wonderful. We bought, if it has goodwill, you know, you need to make sure it does. You have actual financial results, but you need to make sure that someone kind of looks those over, because sometimes people are a little good at cooking books. It's more attractive to lenders. A market is already established. You already have that customer base. You have employees. The systems may be in place. And sometimes you can get some owner financing, which is really nice. The disadvantages, cash flow, and that is a lot of times because maybe, you know, of the debt that you're going to have to pay for buying business. Sometimes you don't know that there's bad will. The first gas station that my husband and I bought, we didn't realize that the guy before us had really ripped off so many people, and it took us well over a year. Couple years, really. I mean, sometimes I would say 6 years later, they go, "Oh, does Luke still own this place?" And no, we've been here for 6 years. So, you know, he really took advantage of people, and so you need to be sure of that. Many times it's overpriced because it's their baby, so it's understandable. It's something that they grew, and it's, you know, near and dear to them. So sometimes, and sometimes the training and support for you taking over the business is not that great. You know, they hand over the keys and walk away, and you get to figure everything out. Sometimes there's hidden seller motives. I had actually talked to a guy. He had bought a car wash that was right along, I forget what road, but it's out there like by Toledo. And then 480 came, or I think it was 480. I forget exactly what road came in, but whatever road came in, a year later, that business was worthless. No one was going past it, and he had invested a lot of money. Employee defection. You are not the same as the owner before, and so people may not like you. They may like you. You know, but you don't know how many people are willing to stay. And of course, there's a higher debt service. Buying a franchise. No, ignore the disadvantages because there aren't any. I'm just kidding. But you know, there's advantages. There's name recognition and licensed trademark. When we owned our gas stations, or when we owned our Goodyear, you know, people came because we were a Shell station or because we were Goodyear Automotive Repair. But if it was Mark's Automotive Repair, you know, sometimes that attraction is not as great as having that name brand of Shell. There's a proven business system. They've made all the mistakes. We were 21 when we went into business. And if they can make 21-year-olds successful, I just have to say they could probably make anybody successful. There's a lower failure rate. And in the area of FranNet, we only represent franchises that have a 95% or better success rate. So we are really picky about who we allow in our inventory. Lower cost, because we're not talking about anybody's baby. And financing options. Banks love to finance franchises because of the history, the proven history. There's also what's called a federal disclosure. We will talk about the advantages of that in a few minutes. And you have a franchise family. One of the things that I loved the most about our business was, you know, every year, all the Shell people or all the Goodyear people got together, and, you know, from across the United States, and if they're in Canada or wherever else, and we would talk about, you know, business, and you could call somebody and say, so what do you think? Or I'm having a problem with that. So the family is really such a great advantage. And then the disadvantages, fewer industry options. You know, there's not necessarily manufacturing and those kinds of things. And in some franchises, there is a structured operating system. Sometimes in a newer concept, the operating system is not very structured. Occasionally, there's territory restrictions depending on the franchise that you're looking at. You can only sell their products. I know this is a shocker, but if you're, you know, selling Papa John's pizza, you cannot go to the grocery store and just buy their cheese. You need to buy Papa John's cheese. You know, or if you're selling oil changes, you can't put in Kmart oil in a Shell station. You need to put in Shell oil. So sometimes people find that a disadvantage. And the ongoing royalty payments, people find that a disadvantage. I don't really think it is, but some people do. So what is a franchise? It's a license to use a name and trademark products and business system, and in exchange for an initial franchise fee and ongoing royalty fees. So this is the FDD. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, but it really is the best way, one of the best reasons why going into a franchise is great. It has all the franchisor information. How long have they been in business? Who's running the business? Have they had any bankruptcies? Are franchises suing them? Franchisees suing them? Total investment, you know, right down to how much working capital do you need to have, you know, so you're in business for 2-3 months, you know, you need to have whatever to keep, so that until the business is at a break-even point, you know, so that you're not going back to the bank for more money. So you know how much the fees are. They tell you everything and this is a government document, so they have to do that. It also is going to tell you the obligations. What does the franchisor have to do for letting, you know, for selling you this franchise? They have obligations as well as you have obligations. The territory size, if there is the territory. The listing, this is probably the most important thing, the listing and contact information for current and past franchisees. So on that franchise document, on that disclosure, you can call anybody. And I always recommend that my clients talk to minimally 10 people. Somebody that's been in business a year, 5 years, and 10 years. Someone that's doing poorly, someone that's doing average, and someone that's knocking it out of the ballpark. And then randomly pick 4 more people, and you ask them, would you do it again? Does the franchisor say they're doing what you know, they say they're doing? How much money do you make? You know, just all those questions that you wonder before you go into business. There also many times is an earnings claim in there, which would say, you know, this is how much money you'll make. The financial statements, manager policy, because some franchises, when we're in the shell business, we couldn't, you know, that's not what's considered a semi-absentee business. You know, we had to work, you know, they wanted to know that where they're running the business. Now, there are other concepts such as hair care, something like that, where you can hire someone to run the business, and so that policy is there. And how you renew or terminate and transfer your agreement. Current and past franchisees will let you know the success or failure rate. That is definitely not true with independent business ownership. Only franchising allows this extensive research using past results, and that's very, very important. So there are some franchising myths. One is franchising is only fast food and retail. Well, I kind of already went over that it's not, but before you got on this, well, that's what a lot of people would think. The fact is there's over 3,600 different franchising companies in 90 industries with over 900,000 operating units. It's gigantic. And really, you know, franchises are the ones that are keeping the economy going now. You know, the big companies are not the ones that are adding on employees. Franchises succeed because of the quality of the product. Oh, I love this one. Can you make a hamburger? Who would rather have a hamburger at my house tonight, or would you rather go to McDonald's? No, I'm guessing I'm not going to do anything special. I never do because I don't eat meat. So, you know, my family just gets a burger, a little bit of salt, pepper, and, you know, whatever the cheapest burger bun is at the store. You know, but they would rather eat that than they would McDonald's. So if it's not the product, then what is it? It's all about the business system. My kids, when they were younger, I'm sure all of you the same, you know, you knew where you were going to eat, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, based on the toy. So it's about marketing, it's about sales, it's about operations, it's about Hamburger University, it's about accounting. So myth number 3, successful franchisees emerge in a new industry with no new competitors. And if I could see you all, I would venture to say that at least half of you would raise your hand on this one. The fact is, successful franchises emerge from well-established industries. If you really sit down and think about it, competition is good. It shows there's a market for that product or service. Franchises do not enter segments where there is no competition. The reality is that McDonald's started when there's a burger joint on every corner. You know, if your family was the kind of family that could go out to eat, I would venture to say that they probably, you know, you probably went there every Friday night or whatever. And you could say, just get me my regular because you were there so often. But there are some more recent examples in the consumer, you know, things like the hair care, you know, super cuts, best cuts, you know, super clips, you know, a lot of the athletic concepts. All of those things are, you know, more recent examples. Myth number 4, franchises are expensive. And I will temper this with that is all relative depending on your pocketbook, right? But, you know, as you can see that really only, you know, 30%, 28% of the franchises are over $500,000, you know, 7% are under 50,000, and the rest all fall in there between that 50 to 500,000. And to be honest, there's a great sweet spot right about that $150,000 mark. There are great businesses that are in that $50,000 to $100,000 segment also. It's really about finding out what you want to do and seeing if your budget fits there. So how much do you need? Typically, let's just say you're getting a franchise and it costs about $100,000. You know, of your cash, you're going to need about 25 to 30%, $30,000, and you can finance 70 to 75% of that with the SBA. There are financing, you know, resources. You can use your personal savings. You can use friends, relatives, partners, enemies if they will loan to you. You can use your home equity line of credit. Occasionally, if you're buying a resale, again, I mentioned earlier that you can get some seller financing. A lot of people did not realize that they can use their 401k, their IRA, etc., at penalty-free and tax-free. So myth number 5 is that in order to make a lot of money, you need to invest a lot of money. And the fact is there is no automatic correlation between the cost of that of a franchise and the return. The service businesses require far less capital investment because you know, you're not investing in inventory. Many times you're not investing in brick and mortar and those kinds of things. And so they're a lower investment and have a higher yield of return sometimes. Industry experience is required. Absolutely not. Franchisors want people who will use their system. They will focus on being an owner with business and management skills and with people and communication skills. They already have the proven process. They really want to be able to train you on how to use their system. And a great example of this is, you know, back in the day, like when Mr. Handyman came out, that was kind of like a, you know, what you would call a chuck in a truck, you know, a one-man kind of deal. But really, you know, even a business like that, really they want an executive that is going to come in and he's going to hire 2, 3, 4 guys and have the trucks and go out there, and he's going to be the face of the business owner, and he's going to be, you know, sending these guys out where they need to get the work done. So just to give you an idea of how franchises have evolved over the years. And a franchise is a great fit for you when it's a vehicle that get you to your destination while meeting your lifestyle financial goals. And it is a great way to reduce risk, and it's a great way to give income security over job security. So really, how does it work? You know, it's simple. It's, you know, having that experience of people and money. They're going to give you the initial training. They're going to give you the ongoing support. That is why I love, you know, I mean, I don't love it. I don't own this franchise, but, you know, royalty fees are not something that's bad. You know, it is what has kept companies like Mr. Handyman or Lawn Doctor or CertaPro or, you know, many others relevant for over 40 years. And franchising is a culture of teamwork. You're in business for yourself, but you are not in business by yourself. You know, I actually had somebody I was working with at one point say, try to watch my clock here, say to me, you know, well, I'm not sure I like that franchise. I mean, if I'm not doing X in 6 months, they're going to send somebody in and work with me. And I said, well, really, you know, you should be thankful that they care so much about your success that they're going to send somebody in and help try to figure out where things may be going wrong, and that they can, you know, help you be successful, because they really do care about your success. Your franchise fee is not what makes them wealthy. It's the ongoing royalty fees that help them exist and help them keep you existing. So again, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You think of the home health care businesses. If you were a standalone, it was a little more difficult for you to get some of the supplies that you might have needed to keep your people going into the homes working, where a lot of the franchises were able to buy enough in bulk and then ship it out to their franchisees. So the process for my clients is, you know, if someone calls me and says, you know, I'm thinking about buying a franchise or whatever, you know, I encourage them. I have a webinar that's about 60 minutes that, you know, would talk about franchise options and go, you know, a little bit more into funding. That kind of gives them a little bit better idea and opportunity then to come up with questions. We then have what's called a personal franchise assessment. You know, and we're testing for things like compliance, because if you're not compliant about things, then being a franchisee wouldn't be good. And management style, laissez-faire management style would not be a very good style. And just trying to measure your values and your motives and those kinds of things. I would then have a conversation with them to talk over the results of that assessment. And if they want to go farther, then we would have about an hour and a half to a 2-hour meeting, and we would build what's called your business model. And the business model is our roadmap for going over, you know, do you want to leave your business for a legacy? How many people do you want working for you? You know, all the things that go into business ownership that a lot of times people don't think of. We would then start looking at franchise options, and then at that point we would be having weekly conversations, just so that I can find out, what are you learning that you like, what don't you like, what maybe on your business model might need to change now that you've had that opportunity to talk to people. Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you start talking to people, and it kind of changes your mind. An example I was giving to Yolanda is, you know, when my husband and I sold our Goodyear, my husband, you know, started looking at businesses, and I said, you know, you do really whatever you want to do, but I just can't do it again. I can't. I'm only going to business if I have no employees and no customers. And he looked at me and he said, Therese, that isn't available, I don't think. And well, it took a while, but it is available. This is what I'm doing, and I love it. And you know, so there is something for everybody. So this process can take 90 days. It can take a little longer, but the typical is 90 days. And so a lot of times when someone starts working with me, they could be in a franchise, you know, in 90 days. 180 days would be probably the latest, unless they're looking for brick and mortar. Occasionally that takes a little bit longer to do. And if you would like to connect with me or refer me to any of your friends, there's my information. That little QR code takes you right to doing my assessment. And I encourage any of you to please go ahead and take the assessment, just so you get an idea of what it's like. Be happy to go over it with you. Sometimes you are in a state of flux, or it's a great way to say, you know, I took this assessment, it says I'm a good fit for a franchise, you know, when you're talking to your friends. So, questions?